Well, every part of the trip's had its own challenges, and here in Kazakhstan, it's definitely been the wind, and as of late, it's been the heat as well, as I mentioned before, and I will most likely mention again. But so I was killing me, it was just killing me, because I was biking all day, and at the end of the day, you're exhausted, and you don't really have that much to show for it in terms of the distance you've gone. So what I decided to do was to just bike at night, because I did a little research, and just from being out here, I could kind of figure it out too. But it's not as windy at night. It's basically just, it boils down to that. And I looked into it. I don't remember all the fancy names they used and the meteorologist websites I went to, but essentially, if you're in a flat plain and there's no storms and you're just dealing with the standard wind, the colder it is, less wind there is. I think essentially what happens is the air is denser during the night because it's colder, and that kind of blocks the wind from getting down to the surface, and it stays up in the air. Anyway, I don't know. But simply put, you go at night and it's not as bad, at least I was told. So I decided to check it out, and I've been doing it for a couple of days now. And I'd have to say it's been fairly successful. It's been good. It's still windy, definitely, but you aren't nearly as negatively affected by it, and it's possible to get your ride in. So I've been waking up every day at 2 a.m., sometimes 2:30, and getting on the bike and just going and getting in whatever I wanted to get in for the day. And then, by the time the sunrise comes up, you've already got about halfway, and then by, 11 o'clock, 11:30, you're done. And it works pretty well, because that's exactly when the wind starts to pick up as well. So, the only problem, though, is that you get kind of the timing's really awkward, to say the least. Because there's nothing open in the middle of the night, so if you wanted to stop for something at a cafe at night, as at 3:30 a.m., they don't really have the 24-hour thing so much around here. Also, since I'm camping a decent amount, since I am in the middle of the desert and there isn't much out here, if you stop at 11:30, you go and set up your campsite at 11:30, and you still have to deal with the heat of the day all day while you're outside camping. And it's not as easy as just, sitting in your tent or something, because it's 100 degrees today, and it's been 100 degrees for the last week, and it's projected to be 100 degrees for the next week. It's not changing. And if you pop your tent up, and you sit inside, it's probably gonna, boil up to 120 inside your tent, unless you can find some shade. But since you're in the desert, shade is really difficult to get, and I had to look pretty far today to get some shade. And the problem too is that you're looking for two things when you're camping out here, because the wind is still really, really strong during the day. So you need protection for the wind so that your tent doesn't get all messed up. And you also need protection for the shade. But unfortunately, since the wind is blowing from the west and the shade is, no, I screwed that up. Since the wind is blowing from the east and the shade is coming from the west, at least in the afternoon, the shade and the wind protection seem to tend to be opposite of each other. So it's difficult to find a good place. But today, at least, this is kind of the typical thing. You look for a dry riverbed with one of these kind of cliff wall things, and you can see I've been waiting. I've been here a couple hours now, and I'm just waiting for the shade to kind of slowly creep out into the flatland where I can actually pitch my tent. Because of course, since I'm planning on getting up again tomorrow at 2, you gotta go to bed really early, and since they have kind of a weird time zone here, the sun doesn't set until 9:30, so it's just hot and bright all day. But anyway, it is really nice to be out here, and with the morning schedule, I find I have a lot of free time, almost too much. But that was certainly not the case before, because I was just biking all day to try to keep up with the schedule. But now, the biking is much more enjoyable. I finished a lot earlier, and you show up at a place like this, and it's all right, well, I got 14 hours. Anyway, things are good, and I think when I get to Shymkent, things are going to change quite a bit. because I'm gonna be heading up to the mountains, and I'm also gonna have a friend with me. Blake's coming along, at least in the Kashgar, and he's gonna be joining me in Shymkent. And Shymkent's coming up. Only, I'm hoping 2 more days of biking and I'll get there. So, exciting times, exciting times.